Hi everybody, welcome to, well, this is my Battlefield 6 second beta weekend first impressions review. Is that right? Or a second impressions review, because it's the second beta weekend? Not quite sure, but you're probably wondering, wait a minute, Rob, this clearly isn't Battlefield 6 you're showing us here. Surely this is the Sinai Desert level from Battlefield 1 that was, in fact, the beta map that was released in 2016 for the beta of Battlefield 1. And you'd be right, because this kind of sums up how I feel about Battlefield 6, in the fact that it's not really the Battlefield that I was hoping it would be. Now, Battlefield 6 set, it's modern warfare kind of era. It's very run and gun, it's very fast, the maps are very tight, it's very urban combat. The sight lines are all really short, as far as I'm concerned. There's that one map where you're on the side of the mountain where they're a little bit longer, but it's all very intense, and there isn't much space or time to kind of think and play strategically or play tactically, and I think that's a real shame. It's a real shame. And I remember when the Battlefield 1 beta came out, all those years ago, sort of 9 years ago, and I'm pretty sure the beta ran for about 3 weeks. It was crazy long. It was only one map, and it was the Sinai map. But I think the devs back then, the DICE and EA, they really knew that they had a hit on their hands. They really knew that they had created one of the greatest video games of all time. And they were more than happy to show it off. Also, there was a lot of worry beforehand with Battlefield 1. The fact that, wait a minute, it's going to be a first-person shooter set in World War One, the war that is known for trench warfare and artillery and being very, very static. But obviously, they showed us with this first beta map, look, we're going to be going all over the world, including places like these deserts, where you can have these big battlefields. And Sinai Desert is such a good map, such a good map. It's really big. You've got this whole desert section to the south, which is nice and open, which is great for taking vehicles over and tanks and having dogfights in biplanes. And then kind of to the north of the map, you've got the town area, and you've got all these different ways that they join together. Now, when you play Battlefield 1 now, there's still plenty of people playing it, but you do get a lot of people who are very good at the game, and they're very good at sniping as well. So that is a bit of a challenge. But the game is still very, very playable, and it really shows you that these core concepts that I think are critical to a Battlefield game is you need to have big maps. You need to have combined arms. So it's all about that rock, paper, scissors balancing that you have. That sure, you can be in a tank, which can decimate infantry, but if you're an assault player, you can have the anti-tank gun, and you can have the anti-tank cluster grenades, and you can have the anti-tank grenade. So you can actually, I'm pretty sure you could almost take out, if a tank was a little bit damaged, you could completely destroy a tank by yourself as an assault player. Now, it took a lot of skill. Alternatively, you could get on a field gun, and you could do that. The other thing would be, if you're in an aircraft, yes, you can drop bombs and you've got firepower, but you haven't got that much armor, and so if everybody starts firing at you from the ground, they can take you out. And so you also have fixed weapons as well. So each class has fixed weapons, so that if you choose to be an assault player, so you've got the anti-tank gun, you're pretty powerful, but by the way, you're stuck with the SMG, so you haven't got a ranged weapon. If you're the supply guy, so you're dropping down supply boxes for people, and you can use the mortar, well, you're stuck with the LMG, which is heavy, it slows you down, and you've really got to set it up. If you want to be a medic, you get the rifles. And if you're a sniper, you're stuck with these snipers. And that is a core thing. Fixed weapons 2 class is a core thing. Things like the server browser. Battlefield 1 probably wouldn't be playable right now, or Battlefield 5 or Battlefield 4, if there wasn't a server browser where you can bypass quick play, which when a game gets a little bit less populated, stops working. You can bypass that, you go to the server browser, you just see what servers are around, and you can pick the server you want that's running the maps you want with the custom rules you want as well. Because obviously a server browser means that you can also have custom servers, which means that people can keep the game alive by paying for servers, so EA don't have to pay for them. And that's really, really cool. Now, I'm not saying Battlefield 1 was a perfect game, but it was pretty good. The graphics in Battlefield 1, if you play Battlefield 1 now on your PlayStation 5, your Xbox Series S, or Series X, or your modern PC, it looks absolutely stunning. It really does, because they used a lot of photogrammetry, I think they call it, where like for the rocks and all the textures. So I think often they look better than Battlefield 6 is, because Battlefield 6 is, especially on PC, it suffers from some of that smearing you get from like DLSS, where they render it at a lower resolution and then blow it up. And also it doesn't suffer from the problems that Battlefield 5 had and Battlefield 6 has, is the fact that because there's so much junk on the screen in terms of rubble and smoke and particle effects, it's really difficult to see enemies. So they can't hide as they could. And of course in Battlefield 1 we still have got 3D spotting, so you can spot people. So if you're playing with people who aren't on mic or don't even speak the same language as you, you can still point out to your teammates where the enemy are, and you can take them out that way. So it's it's a much slower game. It's a much more thoughtful game. I think it's a lot more fun. It's a lot less frustrating, because if you come up against the problem where you keep dying, you can say, okay, let's take a step backwards. Right, okay, let's spawn in as a support player with the mortar, with smoke, so we can create some smoke shields. We try and take this target, or we've got a problem with this tank. Right, let's spawn in as an assault. And it really does work very, very well. So for me, in terms of Battlefield 6, I am disappointed. If they had shown a really big map, you know, like a Goldman Railway map or something like that, then I would have been much happier to say, yeah, this is probably be a good Battlefield. But because all the maps all the maps that were shown were smaller, tighter, it almost feels like you're playing a game of Call of Duty Domination a lot of the time. I don't have confidence that they're going to have many big maps. Now, I could be wrong, but what this does mean for me is definitely waiting until release, definitely seeing, do we get any of these big conquest large maps? That's what we want. Do we get conquest large maps? And then I might say, well, it's going to be worth getting then. The other thing that may be a deal changer, which we haven't got to see in the beta, is also I can't remember what they called it, but in Battlefield 2042, terrible game. I mean, after a year it was okay, but it also had a really good way of creating custom games where you could play with bots and against bots, and you could create Battlefield 3 games, you could create Battlefield 2, I think it was, games in that. Was it called The Forge? I could be wrong, but anyway, Battlefield 6 will have a newer version of that. So it's going to be very, very exciting to see if that's really, really good. If they include things like Battlefield 1 maps in that, where I can then create Battlefield 1 games where it's me and bots versus bots, then I might be interested that way as well. And of course, Firestorm's coming back. That's going to be interesting. I mean, Firestorm in Battlefield 5 could have been the greatest battle royale ever. Could have given PUBG a run for its money, and definitely beat Warzone, but because it was behind a paywall and the looting was rubbish, you know, it suffered significantly, so we'll have to see. But for me now, Battlefield 6, very disappointing. Too close quarters, too fast, too run and gun, not enough space, not enough big maps, not enough rock, paper, scissors balancing. And I'm going to say wait until it comes out, wait until you see the reviews of people you can trust before diving in. Anyway, that's enough from me. What do you think? Put your questions and comments down below, and of course I'll see you again soon.